Unlock Yogananda's shocking secret: how what you speak comes back to you at midnight. In the dead of night, a voice echoed through the dark alleyways of the city, a whisper that wrapped itself around the shadows like a serpent, begging to be heard. It was said that Yogananda, the great yogi, had discovered something profound: the enigmatic power of words, a secret that defied time itself. They say that at midnight, if you speak your desires into the void, they will return to you like ghosts, haunting or healing, depending on your intent. But as the townsfolk gathered, a chill clawed at their spines. Could it be true? Just as the clock struck 12, an unsettling hush fell over the crowd. The air felt electric, crackling with unsaid wishes and fears. Everyone stood, wide-eyed, drawn like moths to a flickering flame. Imagine it: grandmas sharing their wildest dreams, teenagers casting spells of love and heartbreak, while the old man in the corner trembled, haunted by words he wished he could take back. A dog howled somewhere in the distance, cutting through the tension like a knife. "No good comes from speaking into the night," he muttered, voice trembling. A shiver ran through the onlookers as the legend of Yogananda danced on the edges of their minds. With each minute that passed, the tension thickened. Shadows flickered along the walls, like memories trapped in time. Squeaky wheels of a bicycle echoed in the silence, a distant laughter, then nothing. And just when they thought it was over, an unearthly sound pierced the air, a shout for help, or was it a plea? People exchanged nervous glances. Did it come from the mouth of a believer or a skeptic? The fear was palpable, a lump in their throats, uncertainty clawing at their hearts. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As they stood in that dim alley, staring into the mouth of darkness, the night seemed to breathe with them. Just as hope flickered in their hearts, what if they spoke their wishes? What if something wonderful came back? A shriek shattered the air, deafening and raw. Someone rushed from the shadows, face pale as a sheet. I spoke his name, and now he is here. She gasped, eyes wide with terror. The crowd shuffled back, panic surging like a wave crashing ashore. What would happen when midnight struck again? Would the words they spoke be the key to their desires, or a path to something far darker? The crowd recoiled, hearts racing like wild horses ready to bolt. The woman's voice echoed in their minds, a chilling reminder that words wielded immense power. What did you say? Someone called out, the question trembling in the air like a fragile flame about to be snuffed out. I wished for him, she stuttered, breathing heavily. I wanted to see him again, just one last time. Her words trailed off, her eyes glazing over with memories both sweet and bitter. An uneasy murmur rippled through the gathering, a mix of fear, curiosity, and disbelief. Could this be the truth of Yogananda's secret? What if they had all unknowingly summoned something dark? Then came a noise, a shuffling of feet behind the terrified woman, a growing shadow slipping through the cracks of the alley. The crowd instinctively stepped back, forming a tight knot, instinctively seeking protection from the unseen and unknowable. An almost palpable tension hung in the air, electrified by the whispers of the past. Stay back! Someone shouted, but it sounded weak, lost amidst rising anxiety. The figure emerged, draped in a tattered cloak, face shrouded in darkness. Who are you? Challenged a brave soul, voice steady despite the quake in his knees. Speak! The cloaked figure paused, tilting its head as if listening to the heartbeat of the crowd. You called, it rasped, voice like grapples scraping against raw nerves. Gasps filled the alley. We didn't call anything. A young girl protested, her voice shaking. Tears pooled in her eyes as she clutched her best friend, desperately seeking comfort amidst the gathering dread. Oh, but you did. The figure stepped closer. Every desire, every regret, every spoken word at the hour of darkness has summoned me. The truth of it hung heavily in the air. A formation of collective fears and dreams was now alive before them. Shivers crawled down spines, the weight of realization pressing against their lungs. "What do you want?" the bravest one among them asked, but even he seemed to falter. The crowd's eyes shifted from the cloaked figure to each other, the terror of making a wish bubbling beneath their skin. "Just to remind you," it said, pulling back its hood, revealing a face that appeared to be a mosaic of every person present. Fear bubbled alongside recognition. "I am what you wished for. I am what you feared." Panic broke loose as muffled screams erupted. People shoved to escape, the dread of their own unspoken words now rattling them to their core. It was too late to wish, too late to regret. "Everything returns to the speaker," it hissed, a grin spreading across its face. "You spoke, so you shall face your intent." The crowd scattered, some dodging into the alley's recesses, others racing back onto the street, headlights of passing cars illuminating their frantic faces. The laughter of the shadow echoed behind them, a malicious sound that curled into their ears, a reminder that they were not just running from the unknown, they were running from themselves, and above it all, the midnight clock continued to toll, a reminder that time too was listening. As it struck again, it was almost as if the air held its breath, trembling, waiting for the next wish to be spoken. What horrors lay beneath that choking silence? What would happen when the next echo of desire filled the night? The clock was ticking, and soon the darkness would answer once more. The air thickened, pressing against their chests as they ran. A chill seeped into their bones, racing behind them like a predator in the dark. Those who had escaped the alley spared no time. Fear drove them to disregard everything but survival. Yet, whispers flitted across the streets, curling around them like fingers of smoke. "Did you see its face?" someone gasped, eyes wide and searching. "It was like us." A nod, some tears, and a connection straining to be made. They had all wished, hadn't they? A flicker of doubt gnawed at the edges of their minds. What had they been desperate for? To see lost loved ones? To erase regrets? As they fled, a question clung to the air: how could something so terrifying be so familiar? The darkness didn't just echo through the streets, it stewed in their hearts. An older man stumbled, and a few rushed to help him. "Where do we go?" he rasped, desperation clear in his eyes. "Anywhere but here," shouted a girl, pulling away, fear bubbling over as she flinched. She didn't want to hear their unspoken truths. With jagged breaths and trembling hands, they reached a dimly lit square, the clock tower looming over them like a warden of fate. The sound of its bells echoed, sharp and foreboding. Each chime felt like a countdown to an unknowable terror. One brave soul, emboldened by frustration, faced the crowd, every heartbeat ringing like an alarm. "We can't just run. We need to confront it." His voice cracked under pressure, but the strength in his stare wrestled with the fear that gripped them. "Confront what? Our own wishes? Are you insane?" a woman shouted back, her voice heavy with anguish. "This is the curse of our desires." Laughter bubbled in the crowd, dark and cynical. The cloaked figure from the alley wasn't just a phantom, it pierced their hearts, revealing that which lay hidden beneath appearances. With every laugh, unease escalated. They clutched at their throats, as if desperate to avoid voicing another wish, one that could spiral into dread. "Silence, save us!" bellowed the man again, hoisting his hands in a gesture that demanded attention. "We'll drown in our own secrets if we let fear win. Think back, what did you wish for?" But the anger in his voice fell flat, met only by fading echoes of compassion and shared trauma. An elderly woman trembled as she stared at the tower's clock, her breaths rapid and coiling. "I wanted to bring back my grandson." Her words hung heavy, piercing through them. Suddenly, it felt as if every longing had taken root, anchoring them to the ground. A gripping silence swept over the gathering, as if the very air waited for a spark to ignite a fire. Then, a shriek shattered the stillness. They turned, hearts racing, to see a girl pointing at a figure emerging from the shadows, a spectral version of her lost sibling. With a pallid face that mirrored her own, the apparition beckoned with a familiar smile. "Don't run." The plea was futile as others turned in horror, some unable to embrace their choice as the far reaches of grief pulled them back. "Do you see?" the figure spoke, voice blending with the breeze, sweet yet sinister. This is what you wished for. She reached out, and the girl froze, torn between love and terror. In that moment, the crowd ignited with chaos. Shadows danced like wild flames, ephemeral and real, as the darkness began feeding on their fear. Stop it! The brave man's voice cut through the panic. Speak! Confront it! We can turn this! But doubt gripped them tighter, the horror a living, breathing thing now. As the clock struck again, the echoes carried their fears into the night. What followed was the shriek of 1,000 regrets, reverberating back towards them, a siren call as desire and dread converged. Who could resist the allure of the familiar, once lost? The midnight hour loomed, the clock's ticking growing louder, each chime ready to unveil another truth. Would they have the strength to face the darkness that echoed their wishes, or were they destined to be consumed by their own words? Somewhere, beyond the horizon of terror, the real answer loomed. And the next wish had yet to be spoken. The shadow of the girl's ghost flickered in and out like a dying flame, taunting those who dared to meet its gaze. Gasps filled the square as more apparitions melded into the chaos, phantoms of lost children, parents, and friends leeching strength from the crowd's terror. Whispers morphed into cries, and those once united by fear now scattered like dry leaves in a windstorm. Step back! Shouted the brave man, his heart racing. But this was no just physical distance they needed. We have to confront our desires. His voice, raw and filled with urgency, stirred something deep within the crowd. Mothers clutched their children, and fathers shielded their families. Yet, amidst the rising panic, the weight of their unspoken wishes pressed down harder. One by one, faces contorted as they remembered, wished lives, imagined reunions. Then a voice trembled, cutting the fray. A woman stepped forward, trembling. Her eyes shone with unshed tears, wide with longing. I only wanted one more day with him, just one. The spectral figure of the child glimmered closer, a mirrored flicker of her own sorrow. For a brief moment, the connection pulsed between them, a thread spun from love and pain. The crowd stilled, heavy breaths mingling with moonlit air. Look! A man cried, pointing at another specter. It's my brother. I wished he could be here, to tell me I'm sorry. The air seemed to shimmer and pulse with electric energy as the ghosts all too familiar closed in. Desires turned into a visceral fog, nearly drowning them in vulnerability. Were they sorrows or salvation? Shadows or solace? Each flicker of ghostly misfortune felt like an echo, a hurt they wished to mend yet feared to face. The clock's hands crept toward the next chime, its tick-tock a relentless reminder that time was running thin. The faces of the dead shone with hopes and dreams that remained unfulfilled. The brave man attempted to rally them once more, desperation clawing at his voice. You all have a choice. Speak the truth, face your wish. Do not let it consume you. His intensity carved through the fear, igniting a spark within those who heard. The tension solidified in the square, the air thick with the impending hour of reckoning. The spectral figures paused, observing the living with a curious blend of yearning and despair that twisted in the moonlight. With each passing second, the impact of their choices loomed larger than life. A young boy, trembling, raised his hand. I wish I could be brave like you. He shouted, his voice shaking but strong. The spirits hesitated, the boy's desire curving through the air like a warm breeze. A sudden gust rustled leaves from the trees, and then, as if awakened by his honesty, the lucid specters turned their eyes toward him. What of your wish? The spectral figure of his father asked, knelt beside him, eyes glistening like dew in the morning sun. Is it worth the cost? The boy's brave heart raced against dark intrudes. I want you back. I want you here. The crowd gasped in unison. At that moment, a low tremor rumbled beneath their feet. The clock tower, fractured with age and dark energy, shuddered. Each chime reverberated through their bones, shifting reality itself. With each toll, they could feel the balance shift, desires weighing heavily on the scale of consequence. What is our choice? An elderly voice trembled through the din, filled with fear but edged with resolve. To keep wishing? To face our truths? The clock struck again, a deep, resonant thud that tore through the air, echoing like the last breath of a dying wish. The specters danced in the twilight, their faces a haunting gallery of hopes fulfilled and crushed by fate. As shadows grew thicker, the brave man strode forward, heart pounding. I wish to see what lies beyond this darkness, to understand the truth of our wishes. We can't play gods, but we can learn. There was a silence, then the air cracked, a hopeful light entwined with a potent darkness. The essence of those choices hung around them, sharp and raw. And in that pregnant pause, a tremor rippled through the square, whispering that the clock wasn't finished. Will you dare to embrace what lies ahead? The clock's final bell rang, its sound lingering like a fading dream, and a question echoed deep within their souls. What wished truth awaited them, the terrifying or the redemptive? Eyes turned to the shadows beyond the light, as the specters began to shift and the next chapter of their lives hung in the balance, waiting to be unlocked. The air thickened, crackling with an energy that felt almost alive. Luminous shadows swirled, weaving in and out of focus, reflecting the heartache of long-lost wishes and dreams still clinging to the lives they left behind. The boy's father held his gaze, eyes shimmering with an otherworldly light. Understand what you ask for, my son, the spirit whispered, voice gentle yet firm. Every wish has a price, and every desire can lead you down a path you may not wish to tread. The crowd, a mixture of fear and hope, stirred restlessly, their breaths hitching at the thought of what consequences lay on the other side of their desires. The brave man felt their uncertainty. He stepped forward again, heart racing as the clock thrummed ominously. I know our fears, he said, his voice cracking with emotion. But we can't let them bind us. We hold the power to redeem our past. We have to choose. What do you truly want? One woman, pale and trembling, raised her voice. I lost my daughter. I wished I could tell her to stay. I wish I'd held her tighter if I could only have one more chance. Her words hung heavy in the chilled air like a chime of a bell, resonating within the hearts of those around her. Murmurs rushed through the assembly, igniting memories of their own buried desires. A father stepped forth, his eyes filled with longing. I wanted to be a better parent. I wished for forgiveness for the anger I held too long. As one by one they shared, phantoms shifted, drawing closer, each revelation like an igniting spark in a room full of fuel. The memories became tangible, regrets materialized into a swirling fog of shimmering light. The clock tower trembled as the minute hand moved closer to midnight. Will you risk it? A voice from the shadows sneered, a dark specter materializing with hollow eyes. What if you find only sorrow when you reach out for that which you've lost? The brave man clenched his fists, heart thudding in defiance. We mustn't fear the ghosts of our past. They are memories shaped by love and loss. If we confront them truly, we can grow. With his words, the specters faltered, caught by the fire of his spirit. The spectral figures shifted, snapping into vivid relief, showing glimpses of lives before lost, the laughter, the hugs, that last goodbye. It throbbed like a wound still fresh. Moments later, the first chime broke the silence, echoing through the square like a battle cry. The intensity grew, wrapping around them as if the fabric of reality was being pulled tight. The crowd was a mix of anguished faces, tinged with hope. What happens when the clock strikes 12? Someone whispered, glancing nervously at the tower. The brave man turned, voice steady but reverberating with urgency. We will know the truth. We will either be swayed by our desires, or we will rise above them. This is our chance. He raised his arms as if to gather the energy swirling around them, the flickering shadows point one by one, resolved faces glimmered in the moonlight, an unspoken understanding passing between them. They were ready to embrace the possibility of facing their wishes head-on, whatever that price might be. A bright flare of light erupted from the heart of the clock tower, painting the square in an ethereal glow as the final seconds ticked away. With a deafening echo, the clock struck midnight, sending a ripple trembling through the ground. And as the sound pulsated into silence, the spirits glided closer, awaiting their choice, their fate intertwined with those of the living. What truth will emerge from the darkness? An old woman murmured, clinging tightly to the hand of her aging husband. The air shivered as a thick wall of mist started closing in, enveloping them. Shadows flickered, and a voice echoed softly against the night, will you dare to open the door to your wishes? That question hung heavy, the residue of time pressing down as the light shifted and shadows danced menacingly, leaving them all teetering on the edge of revelation and heartbreak. What lay beyond, waiting for them to step forward? The mist swirled ominously, thickening with each passing heartbeat. The glow from the clock tower intensified, casting erratic shadows that danced across the cobblestone square. The crowd stood frozen, tension palpable in the air, each person wrestling with their own fears and desires, weighed down by the ghosts of their choices. Suddenly, the ground trembled again, and the ethereal light burst. The luminous shadows began to coalesce into human shapes, indistinct but familiar. Faces of loved ones lost, friends forgotten, heavy reminders of what lay beneath their desires. Heartbeats quickened. Tears glistened in eyes too long. Dear wide-eyed in the center, a delicate figure stepped forward from the mist, a young girl with shining hair and an innocent smile. The weeping mother gasped as recognition washed over her. "Is it really you?" she cried, reaching out, desperation flooding her every breath. The ghost smiled, a tender yet bittersweet expression. "Mommy, I'm here," but the voice was a whisper, almost lost in the shudders of the crowd. "You can't hold on to what was, you must embrace what could be." A shiver ran through the assembled group. The words sank in, echoing deeper than the fears that had brought them there. This wasn't merely about reuniting with what they so desperately craved, it was about understanding the universe's heavy price for their wishes. "Forgive me. I should have done better." Another specter pleaded, the father who had stepped forward earlier now bathed in the light of a younger version of his lost child. "I thought I could fix it, not realizing I lost you before realizing my mistakes." "Words once spoken can never be unsaid," the child replied softly, "but you can learn to speak anew. Choose love and healing." The brave man felt the weight of it all. They weren't just facing the ghosts of their past, they were confronting the shackles of their own words, the consequences of their regrets. The clock chimed again. Each note resonated, amplifying their fears but also igniting their hopes. "This is our moment," he shouted, his voice gaining strength back. "What will you choose?" Around him, faces hardened with determination. One by one, they made pledges, voicing their heartaches, unearthing buried desires that had suffocated for too long. "I wish for peace," broke a voice from the edge, echoing in agreement. "I wish for a chance to say what I never could." As they spoke, the clock flicked forward. The spirits swarmed closer, their energies tangling with the palpable yearnings of the crowd, weaving a tapestry of desires turned into palpable hope. They were making choices, not just about reclaiming the past but reshaping their futures. The tension coiled tighter as the mist shifted again, revealing a striking figure cloaked in shadows, eyes glinting with a mix of malice and curiosity. "What folly drives you?" the specter hissed, challenging their resolve. "Do you not see? Each wish exacts a toll. Will you gamble your souls?" The brave man held his ground, heart pounding. "We'll face whatever comes. Our wishes have power, but only if we bear the wisdom of recognition." But the specter laughed, a lavish sound that boomed through the square, rattling the walls of their resolve. "Then prepare for the reckoning. For it is not just a door you open, it is a chasm of consequences." The ground shook as the clock tower exploded in energy. The crowd reeled, caught between the light and the dark, shimmering hope and threatening despair. The air rang with the discord of their emotions. Would they turn back? Or would they embrace the unknown, diving into the abyss of their choices? And as the light and the shadows converged, a new question loomed large in the air. What if the very wish you desire is the curse you cannot bear? The ethereal light pulsed, and their destiny hung in the balance, waiting for someone to take the next step into the unknown. The clock tower loomed, its hands now spinning wildly, pulsing with the ferocity of an impending storm. Shadows twisted and writhed, merging the lost souls with the trembling forms of the living. The air thickened, igniting the taste of fear on their tongues. "Everyone, stand strong!" the brave man shouted, voice cutting through the chaos like a lifeline. "We can shape this. Our words will reflect our intentions." But doubt rippled through the crowd. Whispers traveled like wildfire, hearts pounding in time with the quaking earth below. A voice quivered from the back. What if we lose ourselves when we reach for what we want? The cloaked figure stepped closer. Pale fingers elongated in the swirling mist, eyes like black holes consuming light. "You're right to fear, dear ones. Your desires aren't just wishes, they are keys to your very being. it hissed, each word deliberate, dripping with malevolence. The spirit of the young girl wavered, caught between hope and despair. "Trust yourselves," she urged, her innocent voice wavering yet commanding. "Do not let him feed on your fears. Speak from your hearts, and you can break free or shatter." Moments passed, heavy like stones. The crowd shared stolen glances, unspoken fears dancing on the edges of their resolve. Yet, a spark ignited in the brave man, as he raised his hands, enclosing the swirling light around him. "I wish to mend what is broken." His words pierced through the oppressive malaise like a beacon's silence enveloped them for a split second. Then, the clock tower responded, the air vibrating with power. The shadows receded slightly, revealing anguished faces horrified, yet somehow hopeful. Sensing the shift, others joined in. "I wish to forgive." One woman cried, tears streaming down her face. "I wish to see them again," proclaimed a man, his voice breaking. With each revelation, light flared brighter, illuminating their locked hearts, but the dark specter narrowed its eyes, fury churning beneath its sinister smile. "Fools! Do you not see? With every wish comes a curse, your freedom demands your fears. Every step forward requires blood." The ground trembled, ejecting bursts of shadow that lashed out, sending spectators stumbling back. A guttural scream erupted, followed by the anguished realization of their exposed souls before this relentless entity. They stood on the precipice, souls laid bare, their desires palpable within the swirling mist. "Embrace your fears!" the brave man screamed, refusing to yield. "We must confront them right here." With resolve fueling his voice, he turned to the specter. "If you want our blood, you'll have to fight for it." The specter's laughter chilled the air. "I thrive on struggles, watch as your wishes claw the very essence from you." Suddenly, shadows lunged, gripping, clawing, tugging at the fears they harbored within. Every person staggered, deep internal battles erupting. The young girl's spirit flickered, nearly extinguished by the dark tide. "Hold on. Remember me." The brave man locked onto her gaze. A rush of determination filled him, and he outstretched his hand toward the shadows enveloping the girl. "No. We choose love. We choose to fight." His commitment stitched a fragile bond in the air, electrifying the pulses of those surrounding him. One by one, the crowd echoed, chanting their desires as one, a tidal wave of hope fighting back against the tempest of despair. With each voice raised, the shadows inched back. But then the specter screeched, fury erupting from its core, threatening to swallow them whole. "Fools! Witness the price of your desires." The ground erupted beneath them, splitting like a wound. The shadows roared, waiting to engulf their beings. The specter extended its hand, and at that moment, the world was suspended. The crowd stood on a cliff between light and dark, poised at the edge of everything they wished for and the abyss that threatened to consume them. What revelation would unfold for those willing to leap into the unknown? The ground roared and cracked, a jagged maw of darkness that threatened to swallow everything. Fear coursed through the crowd, palpable and electric, as the shadows swirled tighter around them. "Hold on to your wishes," the brave man shouted, his voice barely cutting through the womb of shadow. "Remember who you are. Stand tall." His bravery ignited fierce determination among the people. One by one, they added their voices. "I wish to believe in love. I wish for second chances." Each wish rose like a gust of wind, pushing back against the pulling shadows. Suddenly, the specter changed. Its sinister grin faltered, replaced by an expression of rage so intense, it boiled the air. "Your wishes are a lie. You are nothing without your fears." It swirled, sending tendrils of darkness lashing out. With every lash, a person stumbled, seemingly drained of their light. There was a woman with sparkling eyes, now reduced to choking sobs as shadows tightened around her heart. "I wish," she gasped, gasping at the void, "I wish to let go." The shadows paused, hungrily eyeing her flame of hope. "Let go? That's what you wish for?" The specter's voice was a low rumble of disbelief. "How amusing." But the brave man saw her struggle. He reached out, every ounce of courage pulling at his soul. "Do not give in. Release the clutter within. Speak it. You aren't alone." Suddenly, the crowd erupted in a storm of voices. I wish to forgive myself. I wish to be free. I wish to heal. The air pulsed with iridescence as every wish collided with the shadows. Light clashed against dark, painting an ephemeral battle that lit their faces. Yet the specter was relentless. You fight it, but you must give. The cost is your essence. The scene shifted, the clock tower now shivering as if becoming sentient. The clock hands raced sharply, whipping up an illusion of time itself unraveling. Time is but an illusion, it echoed through the mist, creating echoes of memories lost and lives lived. The brave man felt a tremor beneath him, the ground throbbing in sync with his heartbeat. Beneath the dust and chaos, he realized that he was anchored. Our desires are not our downfall. They are our strength. He shouted, brandishing his hand toward the specter. Then, in a moment of clarity, he turned to the spectral girl. If you have something to say, say it now. Her ethereal form flickered, an invisible force propelling her toward the specter, her voice breaking through the noise. I wish for my family to find peace, for all of us to forgive. Forgive the pain, the darkness. As she declared her wish, the shadows momentarily hesitated, flickering as if struck. The specter howled in fury, darkness swirling in chaotic fury around them. You will regret this moment. It bellowed, and with that, the shadows lunged, desperation filled the crowd, hearts racing. We will not succumb. Echoed the brave man, gripping the hands of those alongside him, their strength melding into one. Together, we'll forge a light. With those words, a blinding beacon ignited in the center, illuminating the terrified faces of the crowd. The shadows recoiled, swirling back, revealing anguished forms from their pasts, a kaleidoscope of lost hopes and demons they had yet to confront. But as the light grew more powerful, the specter's rage deepened. Witness the consequence. Your desires come with a price you can't fathom. The ground shook violently, and every soul held onto one another, trembling as the very fabric of their reality hung in the balance. Then, just as darkness threatened to swallow them whole, the brave man looked into the night, where his breath caught. A faint pulse of light broke through the canopy of shadows, a single thread of hope illuminating the corner of the world they hadn't noticed before. Was it a way out or a trap? Do we take the leap? He wondered, looking back at his companions, each face twisted in hope and fear. In that suspenseful moment, a choice unfolded. Would they press ahead or retreat into the depths from which they had come? As doubt lingered, the clock tower let out one final chime, echoing through the night, a foreboding reminder that time was slipping away, and they were about to confront their true selves. What would that reveal about who they had always been? The pulse of light flickered, casting an otherworldly glow across the terrified faces of the crowd. They stood together, hearts pounding like war drums, torn between fleeing backward into darkness or daring to step forward into the thin beam of hope. Time felt suspended. The clock tower's final chime echoed ominously, a reminder that every moment held the weight of 1,000 fears. Go! Someone cried out, jolting the crowd. It was a sharp gasp of urgency cutting through the fog of doubts. The brave man met the eyes of those around him, each filled with their private storms of sorrow and longing. They needed to decide. Step toward the light. He encouraged, his voice commanding yet warm, like a hand coaxing them forward. It's a path we must carve ourselves. As if sensing their resolve, the shadows seethed, swirling with a dark fury. Tendrils lashed out, slashing toward them in malicious arcs, but the radiant glow held firm. Light met darkness, bouncing off one another in a cacophony of sound and color. Don't get lost in your fears. The brave man shouted, struggling against an onslaught of memories that rushed back to him, faces of lost loved ones, haunting regrets, painful betrayals. They tried to pull him under, but he bellowed back with his own wish. I wish for strength. Strength to face whatever lies ahead. His words erupted like a thunderclap, sending ripples through the crowd. Voices melded with his I wish for courage. I wish for unity. I wish for truth. Each wish popped into existence like bubbles bursting against sharp stone. The moment felt electric, a charge that hurt and healed, brightening the edges of their resolve. Then came the shocking revelation. The specter howled, its face twisted in pain. You don't know what you're doing. It screeched, and suddenly the crowd felt the full weight of the spectre's force. Moments flashed before them, memories splintering into clarity. The woman with sparkling eyes, still caught in shadows, cried out, "I wish to forgive my past." The brave man turned, seeing her struggle, realizing they were starting to break the grip of despair. They had ignited something sacred together. They were more powerful than the shadows, but the spectre retaliated, lashing out with an arm of darkness that struck and snatched at the crowd. The brave man watched in horror as individuals fell to their knees, shadows crawling up their bodies like cobwebs entangling their souls. One by one, hope dimmed in their eyes, wanting to surrender to the abyss. "Stay united!" he howled, holding on to the hands of those nearby. "What we are doing matters. Our voices are our weapons." As if rallying an army, he drew strength from their collective vulnerability. He could see the flicker of determination reignite in the hearts that still stood tall. The spectre shrieked, an unholy sound that rattled their bones. "You think you can escape the truth?" it roared. "You're bound to the darkness. You will regret every wish." The air shimmered as if drawn through a funnel, swirling tighter around them. "Together!" the brave man insisted, his eyes fierce with purpose. "Make your wishes count. What do you truly desire?" The crowd hesitated, doubt creeping back in. But then, like a raging fire fed by kindling, they began to shout. "I wish to reclaim my dreams. I wish to break these chains." The ground trembled again, but this time it felt as if the very earth began to respond. Each wish surged forward, pumping raw life into their fragile spirits, vibrating through the darkness. There it was, that bright thread of light, stronger now, stretching toward them, beckoning with a promise of something more. "Can we trust it?" the whisper rippled through the crowd, doubt hanging thick as smoke in the air. With every ounce of conviction layering over fear, the brave man led with an outstretched hand towards the flickering beacon. "We have to try." And as they surged toward the light, the spectre's howl reverberated in their ears. "You will never escape your truth." Then, in a single heartbeat, the crowd lunged into the radiance, where darkness met an intensity they had never known. The threshold was close, but what lay beyond? Would it be salvation, or a trap waiting to ensnare them in shadows yet unseen? The answers flashed indistinctly, like stars hidden behind dark clouds. Die in the depths of uncertainty, the clock tower let out another resonating chime, a final warning that time was almost up. Would they dare to step through, and what would they find waiting on the other side? The moment hung in the air like a fragile bubble, thick with tension and the weight of countless unspoken desires. The brave man took a deep breath, feeling the pulse of those around him, their fear mingling with hope. "Together!" he shouted. "Whatever lies beyond, we face it as one." As they surged towards the flickering light, the darkness writhed like a wounded beast. The spectre screamed, a sound raw and primal that shook the very ground beneath them. "You will regret this choice. You think love guides you, but it will bind you to your past." But the crowd pressed on, hearts pounding like drums, resolute against the clutches of despair. With every step, the light brightened, enveloping them in warmth, filling the gaps of their lives with tender promise. It was bittersweet, the light each memory they ever wished for wrapped in the colors of pain and healing. Then, they crossed the threshold. A brilliant burst surged through their souls, a cascade of emotions spilling forth that transformed the darkness into vibrant colors. They found themselves standing not in shadows, but on a vast expanse, a field adorned with sparkling stars, each twinkling like a promise kept. "Where are we?" someone breathed, wonder lacing their voice. "This is the place between wishes and reality." The young girl's spirit appeared, radiant and glowing. Her presence felt like a balm, soothing the crowd's racing hearts. "This is where you decide not just what you desire, but how far you'll go to embrace it." "Decide what?" Another voice broke in, shaky but intrigued. "Decide how to wield your wishes." In this ethereal space, the memories spun around them like a kaleidoscope, and for the first time, they saw their shadows differently. Each specter morphed into a reflection of their emotions. Regrets now shimmered like jewels, and losses morphed into lessons. The mist that followed them, once a weight, now felt light like a reminder of all they had lived through. "I didn't realize," the brave man whispered, anger and sorrow mixing in his voice. "We can own our stories instead of letting them own us." Exactly, the girl replied as she drifted toward the brave man, her eyes sparkling with encouragement. Every wish carries a memory. Own it, don't fear it. I wish to forgive myself for holding on, one woman said, tears streaming down her face. The moment the words left her lips, they mingled into the starry expanse, transforming into shimmering light that danced into the universe. The crowd fell silent, wonder taking root as other voices joined hers. I wish to heal the rift between us. I wish to let go of pain. I wish to love openly without fear. Each wish, each release of burden captured the light and wove a tapestry of vibrant focus that pushed the darkness further away. As they began to weave their desires, shadows fell aside, losing their grip. The weight of fear began to lift, leaving only clarity and understanding. Each of you holds great power in your words. The girl exclaimed. They can bind or free. Choose how to speak and what to embrace. The shadows that had once danced ominously around them began to fade, retreating into nothingness as their voices merged into a symphony of hope. The bridge between darkness and light transformed, radiating what they had all feared, their vulnerabilities, and turned them into strengths. In a final surge of resolve, the brave man stood at the center, heart alight with newfound courage. We are not bound by our fears. Let us reclaim our desires as a force. Let us spread love into the night. That's right. Came a chorus of voices, filled with courage and conviction. As they united, the luminous field swirled with energy, pulling the radiance of their collective wishes, merging into a brilliant wave, and with a bang of vibrant light, everything shifted. The world returned, no longer an alley cloaked in darkness but a sunny square filled with respectful silence. The villagers emerged blinking at the light of day, heartbeats synchronizing in awe as they found themselves changed, alive with the power of their words. The clock tower, now midnight gone, chimed softly behind them, like the echoes of a gentle reminder. They were reborn in understanding. As they turned to one another, faces filled with stories and lessons, the brave man felt a weight lift. This is just the beginning, he said, his voice steady. Every wish matters. Every word we speak holds power. They nodded. No longer afraid. No longer defined by shadows, with heads held high, they began to walk forward together toward the dawn, knowing their true journey had only just begun. Each moment laid bare the path toward healing, joy, and connection. As they faded into the golden sunlight, they carried with them the whispers of past desires, forever ties that would guide them in how they wished to weave their future. This was the moment where everything changed, and if you felt the power of this journey, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support and smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. What did it mean for you? We want to hear every thought. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. The stories we tell each other matter, and this community thrives on your passion. Let us spread the light together.